I became involved in this work. Initially, I'd done some work with the UN Special Rapporteur for torture, and I saw some shocking sights from the prisons that the Special Rapporteur would be visiting. He has a global mandate to visit prisons across the world. And from my work there, I became involved in the UN office in Vienna and was offered a position to work as a consultant in prison reform. And so I took a leave of absence from Allens to undertake this position. My work in Southern Sudan was involved in criminal justice reform. Southern Sudan's coming out of 20 years of civil war, so there's very little in terms of any government institutions or infrastructure left. Specifically, our project was involved in prison reform. So we were starting with working with the prisoners and the prison staff in setting up a criminal justice system, as even the courts aren't really in existence or operating at the moment. At first, that was incredibly shocking. To arrive into a situation where you think that you're prepared. I realised, though, the severity of the situation I could never have possibly imagined. First of all, you're confronted with the heat. It's 50-degree heat. There's no relief from it. There's no infrastructure really existing. Then you're faced with the people and their suffering and the skeletal appearance of them. There's starvation everywhere, and on top of the shockingness of their situation, there's then this tension that's existing and this fear it's very much still in a lot of conflict. So there's constant trucks driving around with heavily armed soldiers that look as young as 12, 13-year-old boys with assault rifles casually pointing out of trucks that are just circling the area. So you're in shock for the first few weeks, I'd say. I think some of the biggest gains that we had were, first of all, in just setting up a prison registry system. Over 40% of the prisoners that we were working with in southern Sudan, in Juba, were remand prisoners, which meant that they had no history of a trial, no sentence. And one of the questions I was faced with all the times in the prison was, how long am I in here for? What is my trial date? When will I be able to get out of prison? The conditions in prison are really tough, and so not having any idea of when you're going to move out of the prison is difficult to deal with. So we set up a prison registry system so that prisoners were started to be written down, the date they were coming, some evidence of what crime they'd committed, so that at least there was starting to be a system where we could have a justice system that would trial these prisoners. Because when we were entering the prison, there was no records of the prisoners. So they were in there indefinitely. It was definitely difficult to leave, difficult to arrive and difficult to leave. But, and of course, there's so much more to be done, and you only can achieve so much in the limited time you're there. And you form very close bonds. My office became the prison, so you form close bonds with the prisoners you're working with. The prison staff became incredibly grateful for with the help that they were receiving, the training they were receiving, and they're also eager to learn. They're eager to improve the situation there, and that's one of the things I found most uplifting when I was there, is that these people are desperate to improve. One of the things that I definitely learnt in Sudan that I'll bring back to Allens is firstly a sense of perspective and an idea of the bigger picture. When you travel and see these conditions, you definitely get a different sense of perspective.